Happy Thanksgiving to those of you in the U.S. This week's episode reflects Thanksgiving, and I chose it for this week because I think it does a really good job of highlighting the idea of being thankful for the people that God has placed in our lives. You'll see that this week, even though there's definitely a sad component to this week's story, there's hope involved there as well, which I think is, when I think of the Bible, honestly, I think of a lot of sad things happening. I think of a lot of sadness, but in that sadness, there's hope. And I think that no matter what it is that we're going through, I think that that's what God always wants us to remember, that there is hope as long as we pursue Him. And I think a lot of times we can, make it a lot more complicated than what it needs to be, just remembering to pursue Him. And then, God will work everything out the way it needs to be worked out. So that's a reflection of this week's episode, everybody. I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that it helps you take the time to really appreciate the people that God has placed in your life right now. And also just reminding you that if God has taken someone out of your life, that there's a plan in all this. There's still that hope that you can have when you place your trust in Him. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. After a daughter's tragic death, comforting messages start to make themselves known from heaven, reinvigorating a family's relationship with God on this week's Spirit Answers podcast. Well, Nate, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
All right, well, thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. So, unfortunately, you went through something that any parent fears, completely dreads going through. Hopefully, most people don't ever have to go through this. You lost a child at the age of 16 years old. Riley was her name, and we'll kind of get into who she was and what her background was while she was living here on Earth. But the incredible part about this is, as it mentions in the Bible, that God was able to turn what the enemy meant for harm and into some good as it relates to furthering your relationship with Him, and just giving you some comfort as it relates to where Riley's at now. So if you could get us started with the first experience that you had with Riley after she passed away.
Okay. After she had passed. So that was. So after she had passed away, we were in two separate hospitals. She was in one, and my younger three and wife were in another one. We'd gone to. After she had passed, we'd been in the other hospital for a couple days. Finally, ended up coming back home. So it was 3 days after she had passed. That first night that we were in bed, just kind of laying there, just trying to fall asleep. And I was laying on my left side. It's kind of facing the wall, or facing the side, kind of towards where the wall was. And as I was laying there, I just felt this hand on my face, just kind of pressing on my face. And at first I thought it was my wife, just kind of trying to comfort me and something like that. And so I was laying there realizing I was on my left side, and I'd felt it was a left hand. I could feel the four fingers going up my temple, and I could feel the thumb on my cheek. And I just remember thinking, this is a weird position for my wife to be in, because for her left hand to be on my side, it just wouldn't work. So I kind of went to go roll over, and when I went to go turn over, the hand it went away, and I rolled over, and my wife was just facing the opposite direction and just breathing heavy. She was out. She was just asleep, and just didn't really think anything of it, and just kind of rolled back over, went back to sleep again. And then I felt it again, just right on my cheek. And the thumb was just kind of, the side, it was kind of going like this, like as if trying to comfort, someone that's asleep. I took it as like a parent kind of going in to check on a child, just kind of, things you do when they're not feeling well or something like that. And so at that moment, I didn't know, I still don't know who or what it was, but I just thought Riley, Jesus, someone, angel, something was there just trying to comfort me. So just in that moment, I just, started to pray and just, saying I was sorry, kind of praying to Riley, just, I'm sorry that this had happened to you. I wish we could have changed spots, that, I don't understand this, and just all the things that you would have thought of. So, and then just slowly, it just ended up, hand left, and I ended up crying myself to sleep that night. So, that was the first first one that I'd felt, just like that comfort type of a thing on that first night that we were home.
Wow, yeah, absolutely incredible, and I appreciate how you state it was a comforting feeling. It wasn't anything that startled you. You didn't feel any kind of an evil presence there. This was something that was immediately comforting for you,
Sure.
and it sounds very very close after when she passed away. It was. I mean, how quickly did you say that this was after she passed?
3 days.
3 days. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, wow. And so I'm sure I can't imagine just how difficult those following several hours were, and so I'm sure that just came at what felt like the exact right time, and yeah, just remarkable. I want to take a step back too now, to kind of give listeners an understanding of what happened to cause her to pass away.
That well, California, it's kind of the 99 kind of freeway goes down the middle. There's a town called Elk Grove that it's not there anymore. But at the time, the freeway went underneath these railroad tracks, and the railroad tracks were just, from a distance, it looked like it was just on the horizon. So as we were approaching it, the train was actually going across at the time. I just remember thinking, if we just keep going straight, we're just going to run right into that train. And then as we got closer, it dipped down, and right as it dipped down, just traffic was just stopped. So there were 5 cars involved in everything. So the first one almost hit, one almost hit 2 almost hit 3 type of a thing, where it was just slamming on the brakes. We had hit the car in front of us, and once we'd hit that one, heard Kate, one of our younger ones in the back, saying, that was scary. And then Riley said, yeah, that was. And then after that was the last thing I remember. The car behind us just slammed into us and spun us sideways. And me and my wife were unconscious. We ended up waking up. The 2 younger ones that were in the middle were perfectly fine. But then Riley in the back, she just was, I can't think of that right now. She wasn't doing well. So, so then after that had happened, we'd kind of tried to get out, and the car was so mangled that I'm 6'6". I couldn't get back there. My wife was smaller. She could get back there. Someone else got back there. Smaller gentleman. And we were able to kind of get Riley out of the car. It took a couple minutes, and finally got her out, set her down on the cement. And I teach high school PE. I've done so for 13, 14 years. And every couple of years we go to the fire station and, CPR certified, where they bring out the dummies and we practice on them. So I know everything what to do. Thankfully never had to actually do it before. But one thing that they've all said anytime that we've done any of the trainings is that if you know the individual, it's best if you can step back and not do it and have someone else take that responsibility, so that way it's not on you. So when she was there, like laying there, I kind of just surveyed the scene, took a deep breath, and was getting ready to, go down and check her out, and said a little prayer, just, God, I don't want to do this. Not as I'm not ready to do this, because I'm ready to do everything I can, but I just didn't want that responsibility of, if something goes wrong, I'm the one that screwed up type of a thing. And right at that time, I'd looked to my left, and there were four or five, paramedics coming running down the hill at that time with their, bag of stuff, and they just were right there and took over. And so that way I was able to step back and deal with my other 3, making sure they were okay as they worked on Riley. And while they were working on her, I was, making sure the other ones were okay, and kind of making sure one of them, who was kind of going in and out of conscious, was staying awake. And so that way, just kind of just saying prayers for everyone, just save Riley, just make sure she's okay, just take care of Riley type of a thing. And so, that was just a huge kind of miraculous blessing in itself, just that prayer was answered so quick that I didn't have to do it. And we don't remember seeing any fire medics or paramedics at the time anywhere around. So it was like they kind of came out of nowhere. And then come to find out, it's been 3 years, almost 3 years since the accident. A few months ago, we were with some friends having dinner, and one of their friends started dating someone who was actually one of the actual medics that came down to actually work on her at the time. And he wasn't doing that well emotionally with it, because he was saying, that they did everything that they could, but there was just no saving her, because her skull was broken at the base of the neck. There was nothing that anyone could have done. But just, knowing that he was there and he wasn't doing okay, it was like, I kind of talked to them. I was like, I'd like to meet him to, shake his hand and thank him. I haven't done it yet. We haven't actually met yet, but I consider him one of my godsends, that just, he came down to take that burden so I didn't have to. And I don't know, just kind of feeling that he's kind of struggling with it makes, I wish I could do something to help him out, just to, I don't know, he knows it's not his fault, or there was nothing that they could have done, but I don't know, I feel so kind of tongue tied, but so that's kind of another blessing in itself, that we kind of bring each other full circle, where eventually I'll get to meet him and shake his hand and actually hug him and tell him thank you for doing everything you could, so that I could deal with my other three.
That is just so incredible. And I think there's two big things there as it relates to God's timing. Like you mentioned, one, you didn't see any support around you at the time when the accident happened. So I think that's a miracle in and of itself. And then I also think that you talk about having the opportunity to meet this person and shake his hand and just provide that support that he was able to give you, just in a way that you can now kind of provide it for him now that he needs it, is so cool, and just a perfect reminder of God always having a plan, his perfect timing, working, like we talked about at the beginning, being able to take what the enemy meant for harm and turning it for good. And just absolutely remarkable. It's these little things like this that I think that they're very easy to miss if we don't take the time to pause and examine what's going on. I think that God is always speaking to us in these types of occurrences. It's just, are we examining our life? I think the way that he wants us to do it, I think that is so integral to the relationship that we form with God, is being aware to these moments. So how powerful, again, to have a couple more experiences there as it relates to something that is so, I can't imagine how trying it's been, and to I'm sure provide just a little bit more comfort through something like that. How cool.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't see the blessings when you're writing it.
Another really fascinating part of the experiences that you had after Riley's passing relates to the TV show Young Sheldon, and I was just completely blown away by this when I first heard this. So if you could relay what this was for people that are not familiar with Young Sheldon and how it relates to Riley.
Okay, so yeah, Young Sheldon is kind of a spinoff of The Big Bang Theory, for those that don't know it. It's kind of one of our shows that we kind of would watch in DVR and things like that. And after Riley's service that we had at the church, well, the reason that we had it at where we did, kind of long story short, mine and my family's faith, always kind of believed in God and had gone to church, and was raised Catholic and things like that. Kind of hadn't been going actually for a while, type of a thing. So Riley has actually gone out on her own and was kind of looking into faith and things like that. And she had found this one pastor, Pastor Jeff at Yosemite Church, and was talking to him just about religion and things like that. And so she had made a connection there. So that's why we had her service there. And now we're regulars there now that we go all the time. But so as far as it relates to, as far as it relates to the Young Sheldon episode, so after the service there, we had gone home, and it was just kind of an emotional day, and threw on Young Sheldon on the DVR and just started watching it. And I wrote it down just for context. It was season 2, episode, I believe 25. And so the whole thing, it starts out with Sheldon's mom getting a phone call. She answers it, and some horrible news that someone at her church, their daughter was in a horrible car accident, and she was 16 years old, and she died. And me and my wife just kind of looked at each other and we're like, this is what is this kind of a thing? And then they refer to her as the Hanson girl. And that hit me like a sock in the stomach. My last name's Hanson. So basically it starts out with the 16-year-old Hanson girl died. And it was like, that's just kind of what happened to us. It's we're looking at each other like, do we keep watching this? I don't know. It's like tears are coming up in our eyes right now. And it's, I've said, it's young Sheldon, how bad. I mean, it's not like this is, meant for us. It'll probably mellow out. This is probably just the only thing. And so, and as it keeps going, she's having this huge battle the entire time, between her and, her faith has stumbled, where she in the show is just this devout, Christian and, always on point, and, her faith is wavering. And throughout this, she goes and she talks to, her pastor at the thing, and his name's Pastor Jeff. So it's like Pastor Jeff on the show. We just got done talking to a Pastor Jeff. And then, she goes into this other thing where she makes this kind of rock garden at one point is painting a rock in one of the things, and she's painting a yellow flower. And at the service, there was someone who had done a rock therapy for the younger kids, where they're having them paint, and they had just painted flowers on rocks, and they were painting rocks. And it's like, there's these coincidences keep popping up where it's just, there's no way that this is it. So the overall kind of message, they just kept kind of hitting us all these similarities. And the whole thing is, that the mom kept questioning God throughout this whole episode, as kind of how we were at the moment too. Like, how could this have happened? Why would this happen? And all this stuff. And, Sheldon, who doesn't believe in God at all, turns to his mom and says, I don't believe there's a creator, but I do believe in science. And, if gravity were set fraction this way or fraction that way, would all be in chaos, and, just the world wouldn't work, type of thing. So there has to be a creator. And so, I mean, that's the message that we took from this, was that, there has to be a creator. And, heck, he's speaking to us through this. And I don't even want to try to explain how it happened or why it happened. But I mean, I would love to meet the writers of this show, just to find out, whoever was in charge of that episode, where'd you get those ideas and how did that happen? Because it felt like you were just speaking directly to us through the TV. I mean, that was just a miraculous experience in itself. It was just kind of all of our questions and, why God do you even exist, were just answered in that episode right there.
Yeah. Wow. That is, I remember hearing that for the first time. I was just completely blown away. How many quote coincidences there are with that. And I think, I really think that you have to be somebody that, I think it's easier in this particular situation to take away that there is something bigger going on here. There's a plan going on here, than to dismiss everything. That is absolutely uncanny, all of the different overlaps. And I'm right there with you. I don't know exactly how it all works. I know that God, I think it comes back to his plan. I think he works in mysterious ways. And I'm sure that these types of things happen a lot more than we can ever quantify. But to have a perfect example right here, I see God working in a way that maybe the people that he was working through have no idea, and they may never know.
Yeah,
but providing comfort in a way, in a way to someone at a specific time, through after a specific scenario, after the passing of your daughter, through their work. I think that it really shows you how powerful God is, and how he has so many different ways of working in our lives and communicating with us.
Yep.
So cool.
He does.
In this, so already what you said they're absolutely miraculous and I think just very comforting experiences. But it doesn't stop with these, because from what I understand, you also have some dreams yourself as well with Riley. Can you tell us what those were like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So there was one. Well, mine actually. Ever since I was a kid, anytime I've had a dream where I remember, tongue-tied, where I realize it's a dream, I wake up. I feel the best I can describe it is like that scruff on the back, like cats and dogs. I feel someone grabbing that and just kind of yanking me out. So no matter what it is, I could be, being chased by monsters. I could look down and see some flower that's some neon color that it doesn't exist, or it's like, this is a dream. And a couple seconds after that, I get grabbed and I can feel the pull and I get woken up. It's happened every single time I can remember it, realizing that I'm in a dream. A couple days after Riley had passed, I'd had one where I'd walked into my grandparents' house and she was just kind of standing there, kind of in the kitchen, and realized, this is a dream. This isn't her. And as soon as I ran to go get her, it's like I grabbed her hands. As soon as I could hug her, I got pulled out. And I just remember bawling hysterically that I'm never going to get to hold her, hug her, or anything like that again. And so it was just, I had that experience again, just had pulled out of that one. Then a while after that, I had one where I was in, it's hard to, unless you've experienced it, you can't really describe it, but I was in this room and the whole thing was like, the best I can describe it, static. It was just a neutral room, just like black and white on a TV. The table, the chairs, the walls, everything was just a static color, except for Riley. But it was all like solid, like you could sit on the tables and Riley was there. And I remember thinking, this is a dream. And I remember running over to her and just grabbing her hands, thinking I'm going to get pulled out now. And instead of getting pulled from my neck, my feet were kind of stuck on the floor. So I had this feeling like, no, I'm not getting pulled out. I'm anchored here. I'm supposed to be here right now. And so I just, looked at Riley, just kissed her on her forehead and just hugged the heck out of her. And we were just sitting there hugging for a good couple minutes. And then finally kind of like pulled her back a little bit and just had her arms in my arms and her arms were on mine. We're just kind of sitting there as close as we could, just talking. And it was just, remember saying, how is this happening? What's going on? She just smiled and she said, Dad, I'm okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. It's, how is heaven type of a thing. And she didn't answer me. She just gave me this look that she used to give me all the time. Like when she'd go see a movie or she'd go to an event or go do something, try some new food, something that she knew I was going to love, but she didn't want to spoil it for me. She's like, I need you to experience, then we can talk about everything that we want to talk about. So she gave me that look like, you're going to freaking love it, but I'm not saying anything about it yet because I don't want to ruin the surprise. And so then she just had this huge smile on her face and just told her I loved her again. She told me she loved me, hugged her, kissed her forehead. And then I was awake in bed, just wide awake, not tired at all. And the hole that, the grief, and after you lose somebody, just had that hole in your chest. And when I had woken up, when I'd gone to bed, that hole was there. You can actually feel it, like as if you were to kind of, cut yourself, you can actually grab it and take it out. It was gone. That emptiness, that it was just gone. It was just a weird experience. I was at peace with everything. It was just at that moment I knew, okay, she's in heaven. She's exactly where, everybody wants to be. It's just, I can't go there yet. So it was a great experience, and just, I don't know, it was very, not satisfying, but just, yeah, I guess satisfying. It just kind of took all the pain and everything away.
Wow. I love that. I love that look too that she gave you, and very true to life. It sounds like for her, a very true to life reaction, that she didn't spoil it for you, but it's going to be something that you're going to have to experience on your own. And how incredible! It's just so cool. And the dreams don't stop with yourself. There's a dream, from what I understand, with a wife's coworker.
True. So yeah, shortly after mine, after that one, I'd, on my knees prayed to God after the dream with Riley. It was, just thank you for that experience. It's, I'm a believer. I don't need anything else. If you never send me another miracle, I've had a series of extraordinary ones. I don't need, I'm sold type of a thing. And so then shortly after that, my wife came home and kind of looked like she had been crying. So I was like, what's going on type of a thing. And so then she was on the phone at the time, had hung up, and was telling me that one of her friends who is in the Hmong faith. I'm not very familiar with that, but she's kind of one of the higher ups in that faith. Said Riley had came to her in in a dream, and that in order to do so, she would have had to have been very pure and a very very pure spirit and very determined, which everyone that knows her knows that she was. And she was telling her that that Annie's not seeing the signs, that Riley's sending Annie signs, but she's just not seeing them, that she needs to start her new life, but she's just not seeing the signs. And the lady was saying, well, I don't understand what you're talking about, type of a thing. And then Riley held out this book to her in this dream, and she couldn't make out the cover or anything, but she's just held out the book and opened it up to the first page, and there's just one word on it. And so then she told my wife, she's like, do you know Genesis, anything? That's all I could read. And my wife at the time was like, Genesis, the first chapter in the Bible? And she's like, yeah, I think that's it. And she's like, yeah, I know that. And so they were talking about that. And so then Riley had told the lady that I'll relay this message to Annie, but they're going to think I'm nuts. You got to give me something so that way they know it's you. And so she had taken the lady and walked her into a room that has hardwood floors, kind of like an area over there. That Riley's room is the only room in our house that has hardwood floors. Everything else is carpet. And she had taken her over to a corner where Riley's bed would have been. And she said, see, there's water everywhere, but nothing's wet. And the lady's like, I don't understand what do you mean there's water everywhere, but nothing's wet? So she was telling my wife this, and she's like, so was there some leaky pipe, or what is this? And my wife just, had this huge smile on her face. And when she told me this, it brought tears to my eyes, just that there's water everywhere, but nothing's wet. Excuse me. So after she had passed away, actually in high school, I'd had a friend that passed away, and the day after finding out that, we'd all gone over to his house and kind of hung out. So I had expected people to be, coming over here to our house. So I went in her room to kind of straighten things up and clean it up. But she wasn't messy by any chance. I just kind of put the comforter back over her bed, and this piece of paper on the ground. So I did that, and I went to go check underneath her bed just to see what was under there. And the only thing that were under there were, I wish I remember the number now exactly. I want to say like 13 or 14 water bottles, just those plastic water bottles. They all had the lids on them, but they all had various amounts of water in them, from a sip to a gulp or whatever, that should take them home or take them into bed, drink them, and then they'd end up falling under the bed at night. So there was water everywhere, but nothing was wet underneath her bed. And I had told my wife that when we were cleaning up, I was like, look at this. It's like, you'd think, she was so perfect. The worst thing about her room is she's got, a couple water bottles underneath her bed. And we'd kind of had a laugh about that. And so when she told my wife that, I was like, have you told anyone about that? Because I haven't told anybody about the water bottle thing. And she said, no. And it's like, then yeah, this is it. I mean, who else would know that there was water everywhere, but nothing was wet? And that kind of gives me chills still. And then we had gone to church that next Sunday, and they were having baptisms that day. And my wife just turned and looked at me and said, this is it. This is the message that, I'm supposed to start my new life. This is what Riley's telling me. And, she, without hesitation, went up there, and my wife got baptized that Sunday. So.
Wow. How beautiful, and just remarkable that it ended up working out that way, in a way no one would have ever predicted that dream would have led to those water bottles like that. But just another quote coincidence there. And I think you have to be. I don't get how you can possibly look at that as a coincidence. As a skeptic, I think it's easier again to look at this as there's something bigger going on here.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not questioning anything anymore. It's just, it is what it is, type of thing. But yeah, it's just amazing.
I think everything that you shared should hopefully bring incredible comfort to people that have lost a loved one and maybe are kind of in doubt themselves about God and about the reality of heaven and an afterlife. So I think right there, you've already provided a lot of comfort for people and a lot of hope, that there's something more to this life than just the physical life that we're experiencing right now. There's a much bigger thing at work here, a much bigger plan at work. I want to take a step back also real quick. What was Riley like when she was on planet Earth, and what is the legacy that you feel that she was able to leave behind here on Earth before she went over to heaven?
Oh, she was just, she was awesome. I mean, everyone says, they've got the perfect kids and things like that, but I mean, she seriously was. My wife was introduced to her when she was 5 years old. And so my wife would kind of tease her that, we have three younger ones. So Riley has 3 younger siblings. And it was, Riley, you're the reason that we have, 3, because we thought all 3 of them were going to be exactly like you, but they're not, kind of a thing. So we'd kind of tease her all the time, every time the little ones would start acting up, and she'd kind of roll her eyes and be like, yeah. But when she was awesome as, a child, there were no issues with her at all. She was born with, she calls it a wonky eye, where her eye would kind of wander. So she had to kind of wear a patch when she was younger to help strengthen it out. And she would get teased a little bit at school. And so we'd kind of teach her about that and just, how to be a good person. And it sunk in. And I mean, she would be friends with everyone. I remember walking, actually, no, it was my wife. She was telling me the story that they were walking down the mall, and there was a student that she went to high school with that was handicapped in a wheelchair, that she saw him and, went over there and started talking to him like, hey, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. How's it going? And this and that, and just totally striking it up. And it was just, my wife said that his face just lit up just seeing her, just because he was the kind of kid that, most people don't really look at or even acknowledge in the hallway or things like that. But Riley actually would go out of her way to acknowledge people and make everyone feel, loved and welcomed. And it was just kind of her legacy is kind of, I think, tandem with Jesus's. It's just, the same messages that he was putting out, she was putting out the same ones today.
And it's interesting, as you've been speaking and sharing these experiences, I see that same spirit, that same like pure heartedness coming through these experiences, just like when she was on Earth, expressing the same, just seems like she was just very caring for other people and the same comfort for other people that she showed on Earth, from the other side through these experiences.
True.
That's really, really cool to see that overlap.
Yeah. She didn't want she wanted nothing for herself. Anytime would give her, say her birthday, would give her money for her birthday, she'd go and spend it on other people and buy her friends food at lunch that didn't have things like that. So, I mean, she wanted nothing for herself. She just wanted everyone else to be happy.
Another cool experience that you would share with me that is an update, since you had last spoken about Riley on another podcast, the Touched by Heaven podcast, had to do with the day of the car accident. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah. So she used to do color guard, and I'd pick her up from school. She'd get done about 8 or so at night and pick her up, and would always have just random conversations on the way back, just, how the day was, just favorite thing, this and that, and just random stuff. And one of the days it was, she came up with, how would you like to die? Would it, rather die by fire or by drowning? And so we're kind of going back and forth on those. And it was just, positive and negatives. And I was like, well, honestly, neither. I would honestly love to go at the end of a great day, say, all of us going to Disneyland, just surrounded by family, friends, or just at the beach, just a great day surrounded by everyone you love. And then on the drive home or the way home, it's just quick and easy. And then you're there with Jesus. And she'd said, that actually sounds exactly how I'd want to go too. And, just looking back on that whole conversation, and then the accident was September 23rd, 2018. So it was pretty much 3 years ago. Wow. We were up at Apple Hill visiting, just Northern California. My sister, there's a place up there you can go and pick apples and all kinds of stuff. And so it was me, all my sisters, except for one who was stationed over in Japan with her husband at the time, grandma, aunt. It's like surrounded by family, and it was a great day. We're telling jokes. I mean, there's this one joke that she was telling that she couldn't even get the joke out. She was snorting and laughing so hard that it just, it's hilarious. But she was just having a great time. And we'd go and we'd pick apples. And, there's one point where I'd picking up the younger ones, to get apples out of the tree, and, turned over and looked at her. I was like, all right, your turn. Kind of scooped her up and picked her up to grab apples. And as I was holding her, as she was, grabbing a couple, I remember thinking, you're 16. I haven't held you in a couple of years. It's like, I'll, hug you and kiss you, but I haven't actually picked you up and held you in, I don't know how long. It's like, this is just awesome. And just looking back at that, it's, I got to hold her on her first day and her last day. And that's a little blessing too, that I just like looking back on. But yeah, overall, it was a great day. And man, it was just like she had said, that's the way that she would want to go. It was just a great day.
Wow. The experiences that you've had are miraculous, very comforting, and I'm sure that there are many people out there that wish that they could have similar experiences with people that have passed on in their lives. I'm wondering, have you taken the time to step back and consider why it is that you have been so fortunate in this regard as it relates to Riley?
No, not really. But I'm listening to, I do not remember the gentleman who, I can't remember his name though, but he had gotten shot in the head by his dad, and he had the horrible experiences that his experiences kind of, he had said, makes it so that he can help others in their experience. And I kind of feel the same way that, my experiences can kind of help those that need them, type of a thing. So, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. And I don't know, talking to you prior to the show is just, and finding Jesus, it's, reading scripture and things like that. Now it affects me, and I soak them up like, water. But prior to this, it's, if someone were to, quote scripture, it can just kind of roll right off me, and just, I wouldn't really think anything of it. It's the actual people's stories of, their experiences, how they came to Christ. Those are kind of what hits me. And, so I'm just kind of trying to get this out through the podcast and things, as, I'm not a big talker. My wife will tell you, she's like, if we could just sit there and talk, you wouldn't. But, so I was kind of just praying one day, and it was, God, how do I get this out there to help people? Kind of how you've helped me. And it's like, I don't want to go up and, speak in front of people, because that's not really who I am. And it kind of sent me this vision of, me and Riley, one of our last kind of one-on-one times, we'd go to the beach, and we were out on boogie boards, just kind of sitting out there and just relaxing and just waiting for the next waves to catch. And she looked over at me and just said, Dad, we need to do this more often. And I was like, do what? Go boogie boarding, kind of a thing? And she's like, no, just me and you one-on-one time. And, I'd kind of thought about it, and it's like, most of the time, yeah, we're always around family. We don't really do stuff one-on-one, type of a thing. And so we'd kind of made plans to kind of do daddy-daughter dates and things like that. So we'd done a few of those prior to her passing, and kind of, I'm doing those now with the younger ones. But so I'd had a vision of that kind of experience of us just on the water, and then just kind of heard, his voice just saying, if you put it out there, I'll deliver it. And then kind of went from us, me and Riley on the water, to kind of a bottle. So every time I go to the ocean, I'll take a bottle or two, and just the whole experience that I've kind of talked about on this show, it's all typed out. I'll roll it up in a bottle and toss it out in the ocean. And so I'll put it out there, and God will deliver it. And funny thing is that there've been one that I don't go on Facebook, but someone had gotten the message to my wife that they had received one, and it had really helped them out, or kind of changed them. And so that was kind of a good hearing that, my story that I've thrown out there actually got to someone that needed it. So yeah, it's like, if you put it out there, he'll deliver it and get it to who needs to hear it. Just like those guys did with that Young Sheldon episode. It's like they wrote it out there, and we received it.
Wow, that's beautiful. I did not know that. Really, really cool. For people that are going through what you went through in 2018 and continue to go through, which is the loss of a loved one, and in this case, I would imagine even more challenging than maybe other experiences because you lost a child. What do you tell those people that are going through something similar, and how have you fared yourself and gotten through this really, really difficult time?
Just for me personally, it's been talking and interacting with others who have lost children. Have some friends from high school that have lost a child. I work with a coworker of mine who's lost one as well, and just talking to all of them, they the years of experience that they have with it behind their belt, it's it doesn't really get easier. It just kind of gets better. That feeling's kind of gone, and they say that the weirdest part is that it'll just hit you out of nowhere. Like you'll just be walking through Target or something, and you'll see a card or see something, and all the emotions flood in, and you just start crying in the middle of Target. And it was just, they just said, just let it happen, let it, cry when you need to cry, and grieve when you need to grieve. He's like, but the times in between that will be fewer and fewer, and just kind of remember the good times and things like that. And so listening to them has helped out a lot. And also my wife gave me a book. It's called Imagine Heaven. I believe Burke is the author. And it's a combination of people's experience who have had near-death experiences that it's like kind of their time in heaven and what they experience before they come back. And just in reading that, I'll imagine Riley going through their experiences, as in where she's walking, at the foot of Christ and things like that. And that's helped a lot. Just imagining her in this place that it's, basically their loved ones are there. It's just wait till, they're going to give you that look. Just wait till you get here so I can show you all the, awesome things there are up here that, you have no idea about.
Yeah, that's a great book. I love Imagine Heaven. And I think that it does provide a lot of comfort. And I also just think it comes back to, I appreciate everything that you said and what you're doing right now. I think it comes back to that, which is you're helping people through these miraculous testimonies that you have as it relates to Riley. And as we've alluded to before, maybe not everybody is going to have these specific experiences as it relates to the loss of a loved one, but you're going out and you're helping other people through this type of, through an interview like this, or through the message in a bottle. Mm-hmm. You're providing comfort through a painful experience for other people. You're going out and helping other people. And I think that's I want to highlight that, because I found that when you are going through something challenging, and you obviously everyone needs time to grieve, but once you're able to push past that a little bit, if you can go out and focus on other people that are maybe going through a difficult time themselves and help them, I think it does make these really traumatic and difficult experiences maybe a little bit easier. And there's a little, and through that, there's a little bit of, I think, fulfillment that comes through that can then help us heal just even a little bit more. So I really, really commend you for taking the time that you have on Touched by Heaven already, and coming on this program and sharing all these miraculous experiences with Riley. And I can't imagine how difficult that is. I'm just so thankful that you've been able to do this and help so many different people along the way. You've helped myself out, and I've never been in the situation that you've been in. So I can just imagine how many other people that you've helped out.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Nate, for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. And I will continue to pray for you and your family, and, just wish you all the best. Thank you.
Well, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the show this week, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, for reviewing and rating us on the podcast apps. And want to give you an opportunity, if you haven't already accepted God into your life, to do so this week. I ask that you would ask God to reveal himself to you in a personal way. And I ask that you don't give up, that when you're asking God this, to really be persistent with it, and ask yourself this: am I truly searching for the truth? Am I truly searching for answers? Even if it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first, am I really looking for, the answer to all the big questions? Why are we here? What happens to us when we die? What's the meaning of life? And I think that if you are being honest with yourself, and you are truly searching for those the answers to those big questions, that he will reveal himself to you in a personal way, like I always say. A reminder as well, we have a Facebook group, so don't forget to join us there, Spirit Answers on Facebook, and thank you for your donations if you feel led. I hope that you have a great rest of your Thanksgiving week, and I will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.